Assalamu alaikum. Hello, gentlemen. Today we are going to have the last session, the 12th session on public administration, and our topic remains public administration and development. Well, we have discussed a lot on public administration already. The basic concept of public administration, how the concept of state changed from security state to a welfare state, why public administration was required, how their scope was enhanced with the passage of time. So we need to know that the present day government is expected to provide various services to his population, because the scope of administration has increased with the transformed concept of modern welfare democratic state. The increase in number of functions undertaken by the government functionaries require highly professional, technical services. Modern public administration usually represents a galaxy of all nations' occupations. According to Gerald Caden, public administration has assumed the following crucial role in contemporary modern society. And why it has happened? Just because of the fact that with every passing day, in continuation of that concept of a modern welfare democratic state, where the rights of a citizen remains the prime objective of the governments, this concept has been more popular with every passing day. And the governments are supposed to perform many of the activities which were primarily not the ambit of the governments in the past. Now the public officials has to function in many of the spheres, as I mentioned, not under the purview of administration in the past, like number one, the public administrators are expected to preserve the polity, the civic sense, the maintenance of stability and order, institutionalization of socio-economic changes in the country, management of large-scale commercial services, ensuring growth and economic development in the country, protection of weaker sections of the society, formation of public opinion, influencing the public policies, and managing implementation of public policies and development. This larger scale, this sphere of administration, this enlarged sphere of administration has of course created more challenges for public administrators. We must be remembering that state itself operates through its functionaries. And when people are expecting each and everything out of the government, then the government has ultimately has to respond through its administrative structure. The public representatives are basically there to implement the policies formulated by the government, by the executives of the country. But when we talk about this enhanced role of public administrator, where even the preservation of the polity, the maintenance of stability and order, institutionalization of socio-economic changes, management of large-scale commercial services, ensuring growth and economic development for the masses, for the people of the country, protection of the weaker sections of the society, formulation of the public opinion, influencing the public policies, and managing the implementation of the public policies and development. When all this is expected of the public officials, then you need to empower the public officials and trust the public officials that the public officers and administration will be responding in the best possible way to ensure the dream of a modern welfare state. As far as the concept of the state is concerned, we already know that this transformation has actually put more burden on administration. There are so many factors which have played its role. The development of the various social, psychological theories, the development of more sophisticated social thoughts, some new schools of thought on psychology, on motivational aspects, on some of the other aspects of the socio-economical parameters. Primarily, this scope of administrative work has increased over the period of time. So right from the time when administration was only engaged to the collection of revenue and giving and maintaining the law and order situation within the country and outside, after change of this role, the administration is expected to bridge the gap and to serve truly as a bridge between the ruler and the ruled. Keep in mind, a public administrator is known as a social engineer. Just like a civil engineer builds roads, builds buildings, a public administrator works as a social engineer. He builds the society. He is ultimately responsible for planning the overall socio-economic development of the country, or implementing those policies for overall socio-economic development of a country. So he works as a social engineer. He is the person who is going to build up the societies. That is why it is said that if public administration fails to bring a social change in society, the alternate will be a bloody revolution. Keeping in mind the functions of the public administrators, the functions of the state, as I said, the public administrator works as a social engineer. He not only performs his duties as a social engineer, but he actually fights with various fronts within the boundaries of a country. Just like your forces fight the external fronts of the country, The territorial jurisdiction of a country is safeguarded by your forces. But your civil administration actually fights against the many of the diseases like black marketing, profiteering, and many of the other problems, and they build up a society which is and which shall be livable. So, the function of the administration has become exhaustive over the period of time. Government has to work to public interest. Public administration represents the government. The prime objective of the government is to work for the interest of the masses. And that interest of the masses will ultimately be transformed in the shape of the functions of the executives and functions of the civil administration. And in the perspective of a social scientist, the special status in developing countries, this role of administration is even more. It holds the significant place. It touches them almost each and every step. Each and every step of a person's life is touched by administration. Woodrow Wilson कहता है that administration is the most obvious part of government. Woodrow Wilson. He is of the view that administration is the most obvious part of government. It is government in action. It is the executive, the operative, and most visible side of the government. I repeat again, that administration is the most obvious part of government. It is government in action actually. It is the executive, the operative, and the most visible side of the government. W.B. Donham, realizing the importance of public administrators, is of the view that if civilization fails, it will mainly be because of the breakdown of administration. W.B. Donham says that if civilization fails, it will mainly be because of the breakdown of administration. कि अगर आपका एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव ब्रेकडाउन होता है तो फिर आपकी सिविलाइजेशन बैठ सकती है. That is where the role of your administrator is very important. Let's try to understand their role in whole of this phenomena. The civil administration works as instrument for providing services to the masses. They work as an instrument for providing services to the masses. They implement the policies, works as a stabilizing force in society. They maintain the law and order situation. They produce stability in the country, stabilizing force in society. Instrument of social change in society. Instrument of economical development in the society. Emergence of a welfare democratic state's dream cannot be realized without effective input of your civil administration. After the Industrial Revolution, the rights of the masses and general labor were in jeopardy. It was the administration which looked after and should have looked after the interest of the general masses. Your administration is a scientific and technological development force. They are involved even in economic planning. Keep in mind that administration and development administration is about the project's development and administration. Development administration is about projects, plans, policies, and ideas which are focused at development of a nation, the socio-economic development, the socio-political development of society in general, carried out by talented and skilled bureaucracy. This is what the meaning of development and administration is. That development administration is about projects, plans, policies, and ideas which are focused at development of a nation. कौन सी development? Socio-economic development, socio-political development of society in general, carried out by the talented and skilled bureaucrats. Development administration is basically the phenomena of two important aspects. One is administration of development, and other is one is the administration of development and other is administrative development. Development administration is basically phenomena of two different concepts. Administration of development, as I discussed, that it talks about the projects, the plans, the policies, ideas which are focused at development of a nation, the socio-economic, the socio-political administration of development. And then you have to come up with administrative development itself. Let's come towards the objectives of whole of this phenomena. Innovation at all levels of planning. Through development and administration, what we want to achieve is innovation at all levels of planning. Importance of development at grassroots level. Development of human capital as resource. Politics and administration must go hand in hand to establish rapid change in society and bring just and distinct social order in society. Gone are the days when people used to think like there must be some dichotomy between politics and administration. When we are talking of development and administration, then your politics and administration must go hand in hand to establish rapid change in society and bring just and distinct social order in the society. Your administration and politics has to move side by side. Freedom of administrative machinery is also very important to express the ideas, views for most effective and efficient use of natural resources. If your administration is not having the freedom to come up with their novel ideas, the views for most effective and efficient use of natural resources, the dream of a nation development remains a dream perhaps. Building decision-making capabilities, development of skills and specialization to handle the complex issues. These are some of the prime objectives. Giving importance and training and effective use of technology is another important aspect. We have to increase the administrative capacity, capability. We have to stop, we have to restrict corruption and bring more accountability. Creating leaders out of the administrators, creating leaders out of the bureaucrats will ultimately realize the dream of development of a nation. Public administrator is the true agent of social change in society. If the requisite environment is made convenient by the executives of this country. So the whole of this discussion basically talks about that the scope of administration has changed. The priorities of the government has extended more and has expected more out of administration. And then we need to keep in mind the role of administrator and administration in development of a modern welfare state, development and administration itself, and then we need to keep in mind the objectives accordingly, and ultimately to realize this dream of development, perhaps your public administrator can really work as an agent of social change, can really work as a social engineer of a society, provided that your executives have to give due space, due independence, so that they can come up with their ideas, they can come up with their novel techniques, they can come up with their exposure of this particular area, ultimately to realize this dream. Thank you so much.